Hello, and welcome to VexGo STEM Camp. I am so excited to see you here in our very first STEM Camp session. My name is Audra, and I'm one of your Vex Camp counselors that's going to be with you throughout these sessions as we build some incredible things with our VexGo kit and do some really awesome STEM experiments. So, what are some things that we're going to need to have or to know in order to do this session together today? Well, as you can see from the board here, we are going to do our very first VexGo build, which is going to be the supercar. And wait till you see how this supercar drives. Oh my gosh, it's going to be awesome. In addition to your VexGo kit so that you can build the supercar, there's just a couple other things that we'll need in order to do our little experiment with it. We'll need some tape. You can use any kind of masking tape or a piece of string. You'll need something to measure with. I have a meter stick here, but you could use a ruler or a tape measure. And you'll also need some paper and pencils or markers to write with. If you have a data collection sheet that you've printed, that is perfect for this. But if not, you can just use a regular piece of paper and write things down on it as well. Before we dive right into building with our Go Kit, I just want to remind you that at any point in time during this video, if you want to pause the video or rewind it and replay it in order to see or hear something again, you can do that. You can go through this video at your own pace to make sure that you are having the best camp experience possible. Okay, so are you ready to get started building with your Go Kit? I know I am. So before we dive in, let's talk about what do we mean when we say your Go Kit? Well, your VexGo kit contains 2 boxes, so you're going to need both of those boxes every time we are building with our kit here in camp. Our one box has all of our plastic building components in it, right? You'll see beams and plates and some knobs that we're going to use. Your other box has the electronics like the motors and the switch and the battery, as well as some additional connectors and things, and our pin tool over here on the side. So as we're building with our kit, we want to make sure that we're keeping both boxes with us all the time because we're probably going to need pieces from both sides of the kit. So now that we know what we mean when we say our VexGo kit, let's go take a look at the build instructions that we're going to use in order to build our supercar. So above this video, you'll see a link for build instructions. If you want to open up those build instructions and have them open for yourself as we're working through this camp, you can, but I'm going to have these build instructions open here and you can follow along with me as we're building. So when we first open up our 3D build instructions, we'll see a big black play button, and when we move our mouse over it, it will turn orange, and then we're going to select that. So now let me show you a couple of really cool things about these 3D build instructions, and then we'll get into our building. So the first one is that they open up and show us exactly what our supercar is going to look like once it's fully built. And one of the amazing things about these 3D build instructions is that anywhere in this image, I can click and drag my mouse and I can spin and turn that build so that way I can check out all the different parts of it. And this makes it really easy for me to see how my pieces need to be connected, because if we don't connect them exactly right, our build is not going to work exactly right. So in order to get started with our build instructions, I'm going to move them around here a little bit so you can see both my kit and my building space as well as the build instructions. So before we jump into step 1, everybody open up both boxes of your kit and let's get out the things that we're going to need. So when we press this play button down here, when I move my mouse over it, it'll again turn orange. And I can press it, and now I can see this very first step. So this is step 1, and now you can see we're going to need 4 different pieces here. So we can see all the pieces that we'll need to make this step. And if I'm not sure what they are, I can click on an individual piece, and then I can see the name there. This says red square beam. So now I know that I'm going to need a red square beam. I'm also going to need a red shaft and 2 red pins. Now, here's the very cool part of this. Once we pick out these pieces, we can actually watch them go together in that 3D build instruction. So first, let's get out the pieces that we are going to need. So my red square beams are down here in this corner of my kit. So I'm going to get out one of those. Then over here, you see where you have these 4 jewel cases? I'm going to take out the one that has all of the pins in it because we're going to use a bunch of those. I'm also going to take out this box that has some gears in it and some shafts because I'm also going to need a red shaft out of this box. So now I'm going to get out my 2 red pins, and you should be following along and getting these pieces out with me. And then I'm going to dig in this box and grab the other red shaft. You can see that this is called a red shaft because it has a little red collar right there. So it's also the shortest of the shafts in that little box, but we call it red because it has that little red collar. So now let's watch how we're going to put these things together on our build instructions. So I'm going to press this play button again, and whoa, did you see that? They just came together. Now, if it went too fast, I can press the back button and it'll pop back out again. You can also look at these pink lines to see where things are going to line up. So now I can see that if I hold my pieces in the same way they look in that build instruction, I'm going to put the red shaft directly in the middle hole of my beam. And I'm going to put 2 pins. I'm going to just press them into the holes in the corners of those beams. One in the top corner, one in the bottom corner. So now, whoop, let me get that in there. All right, so now when we play that step again, there we go. So this is what our piece should look like when it's finished. We can compare it every step of the way to make sure that we are building exactly to meet those build instructions. So now we're ready to move on to the next step. So we'll just press that play button one more time and it'll take us to our next step. So now we can see here, we're going to need a large black beam. So that's going to be up here in this plastic side of our kit. I'm going to pull out a large black beam right there. And now let's see where we're going to stick this part that we just built. So again, I can turn this around so that I can see these holes a little bit better. I can also zoom in a little bit to be able to really see them up close and personal. So there's a couple different ways to follow these lines, right? We can do, you may notice that on all of the beams and plates, they're filled with holes, right? We just figured out why they have holes so that we can attach pieces together. But we can also use these holes and count them to be sure that we are putting things in the correct space. So I know when I look at this image of the build instructions that I know that the top pin needs to go into the 3rd hole on the top row. So now when I hold this together, I know that that top pin needs to line up with that 3rd hole. So that means they're going to make a diagonal line across. So the shaft is going to go in the middle and the top one is going to go in the top, and then I'll just squeeze them and snap them together. All right, how are we doing? Does your piece look like that? Let's check our build instructions. We can see them come together, and now I know this looks exactly the same as it does in the build instruction. Great job. And we can double check that because we can see that we should have an empty hole here, and we should have 2 empty holes on the side, which is what we have. We have one there and 2 empty holes on the side. So we're ready to move on to the next step. All right, now we're going to need a yellow angle beam, which is up in the top part of your plastic kit right here. So I'm going to grab a yellow angle beam and 2 more of those red pins. So 1 and 2. Now let's watch to see how these pieces come together. Okay, so it looks like that's going to go right next to my red beam. So I'm going to stick my pins into these 2 holes that it looks like on the build instruction, the bottom 2 holes of that yellow angle beam. And then we're going to attach that right next to that red square beam. See, just like this. So it should bend over that way, almost like it's trying to give that red beam a hug. All right. Does yours match this? Every step of the way, we want to make sure that yours matches. And if it doesn't and you need to go back, that's fine. You can pause the video and go back, and we can just take things apart and fix them as we need to. All right, our next step is going to use 2 more pieces that look a little bit different. These are our orange connectors, and what makes them look different is that they have pins already attached to them. So up at the top of your electronics bin here, you'll see some orange connectors. We're going to need 2 of those, 1 and 2. So now let's take a look at where these orange connectors are going to go. It looks like they're going to go right on either side, on either end of our black beam. Now, if we look very closely at these, we can see that there's a side of the orange connector that has some bumps on it and a side that's flat. We want to make sure that the flat side is facing out. So here's my orange connector, and here you can see this is the side with the bumps and this is the side that's flat. So I want to make sure that my flat side is facing out, and then I'm going to connect this orange connector in these last two holes on the left side. And we'll just push it in there. Sometimes you have to give it a little bit of oomph to get it to go in. And then I'm going to put the other one right on the other side on these end two holes here. All right, are we ready? We're going to stick it right there and squeeze it together. There we go. How are we doing? If I hold it to face the same way it is in the build instruction, looks good, right? We've got our orange connectors, flat side out. If you didn't put yours that way, that's okay. Just take it apart and flip it around. Alrighty, ready for our next step. Okay, whoa, what are these? These look like giant pins. These are actually called standoffs, and they give us the ability to connect things and have some space between them. So we need 3 of our orange standoffs. Well, I don't see them in my pin bin, and I don't see them in the shaft bin. There they are. They're in another one of our little jewel cases. So I'm going to take that out and open it and take out 1, 2, 3 orange standoffs. Then I'm just going to leave that little jewel case over there. There we go. Put it right back. So let's see where we think these 3 orange standoffs are going to go. One is going to go into the top of the yellow beam and 2 are going to go in the red beam. So let's watch that come together. There it goes. So now I'm going to turn it a little bit just so that we can make sure we're seeing it very clearly. So let's pick up one of our orange standoffs, and you can see they have pins on either end. We're going to stick 1 in that top hole of the yellow beam, angle beam. Then we're going to stick 2 into this red square beam right there. So we have 2 empty holes there. We're going to stick 2 orange standoffs right there. So now we have 3 of them. And you can see that now that gives us a way to connect things all the way over here, right? Pretty cool, huh? All right, moving on to our next step. Oh, just one tiny little pin that we're going to add here. All right, so let's spin this around so we can see exactly where that pink pin is going. Now, the pink pin is over here in that same jewel case where you got your red shaft from, and there's a little pink pin. Now, this is different from the red pins because it has a flat side to it. So we're going to stick this pink pin straight into that hole. So now if we use our counting method here, we can count from the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's going in the 6th hole to the right. Now, when I'm holding up my thing that I just built, I put it down like that. But if I try to make it match what I have in the picture, I need to turn it around, right? Because that's the way it looks in the picture. In the picture, my yellow piece is pointing off that way. And now I need to go to the 6th hole from the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I'm going to stick that pink pin in and push it all the way through so that it's nice and flat. It'll look like a little hexagon on the side. And there you go. It's just sticking through. Alrighty, our next step, we're going to leave this part put together right there. And in our next step, we are going to use only pieces from this little bin right here. So we're going to grab a green shaft. And again, you can tell that it's a green shaft because it's longer and it also has that little green collar. So we want a green shaft, and then we want 1 red gear and then 4 spacers. The spacers are the hard gray circles, almost like little hard gray Cheerios right there. We need 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You'll also see some round black ones. Those are shaft collars. We're not using those right now. We want to make sure we have spacers. So now we're going to slide these onto this green shaft. I'm going to hold it by its little green collar end right there and slide these on in the same order that they are in this build instruction. So let's do that one more time because that was really cool. So now we need 1 spacer followed by 1 red gear. Now, if we look carefully at this red gear, you can see it has kind of a rounded side on one side and a flat side on the other. And if you look at your red gear, you'll see that it has a rounded side out here and a flat side here. So we want the flat side facing that spacer that we just put on. So if you need to turn your gear around a little bit to be able to get the square hole to line up, you can. Then we're going to slide that on. And now we're going to have 3 more spacers. 1, 2, and 3. So there we go. Does it match what we see here? Yep, 1 spacer, a red gear, and then 3 more. Okay, so what are we doing with this piece? Well, we're going to stick this piece inside of a tire. So we need our gray wheels right there. And your gray wheels are in the electronics bin, and they are right up here next to your discs. So we're going to grab one of our gray wheels, and you can see your gray wheel has a flat side, and then it has a side with a recess. So what we're going to do is stick this shaft into this recessed side right in the middle hole. So when we watch that go together, when we stick that in, it should go right into that middle hole. There we go. And now you can see we have a little bit of the shaft sticking out in the back and the rest of it on the front. Now, if I turn it around here, I can see, yep, I should have a little bit sticking out there. That is exactly right. All righty, moving on to our next step. Okay, we're going to put this to the side also. So sometimes when we build some different components and then we put them together. So that's exactly what we're doing here. Now we need one of our blue beams right here. And we need another one of those pink pins and another one of our green shafts. So here's our green shaft. Here is our pink pin. Let's see where these are going on our blue beam. It looks like we're going to put a pink pin in the very top and the shaft in the second to last hole. So there we go. That's exactly what we're doing. We're going to put a pink pin in the top. Now I'm holding my pieces exactly how they are oriented in that build instruction. So that way I make sure that I have that pink pin on the correct side and that it's on the right side and the same side as the short part of my shaft. So I've got my pink pin in, I've got my green shaft. It looks just like it does in that step. And now let's move on to the next step. So now, now in this step, we're going to add some gears to this piece. So we need 2 blue gears that again are going to be right above your blue wheels. They're right here. You're going to take out 2 of them. And now we're going to put 1 blue gear on this pink idler pin, and we're going to put the second blue gear on this green shaft. So I'm going to slide that in the middle hole right there. Whoop. Actually, let's play this step so you can see how that works. There we go. So see how they're both connected on the middle holes? We're going to slide the flat side of our gear against the blue beam and connect it to that pink pin. Then we're going to do the same thing and put the flat side of our gear facing down. Now I'm holding this green shaft in place with my fingers that it doesn't fall out since there's nothing holding it in place right now. Then you can slide that on right there. And then you will notice that when you push them down, they should mesh together, which means that if I spin one of them, the other one will move. So we want to make sure that our gears are meshed so that way they will work together. If they're not meshed and they're sitting on top of each other like this, or they don't fit that way, or there's space between them, then check the position of your shaft and your pink pin because they should, once you slide them on, mesh exactly like that. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to move some of these things that we've built here to the side. So this way I have some more space for you to see what I'm building. So we need another one of our red square beams and we need 2 more standoffs. This time we're going to look for some blue standoffs. So I'm going to take 2 of them out of my bin right there and put that back. Now, where are these standoffs going to go? Let's see. Well, if I hold my piece, my red piece, the same way that it is in the build instruction, we're going to put 1 in the top right corner and 1 in the bottom left corner. And then I can compare it. Yep, that looks exactly the same. Ready for the next step. Oh boy, what is happening here? Oh boy, it's time to have some fun with rubber bands. All right, in our last little jewel case right here, you will find some rubber bands. Now we're going to take out one rubber band. We are not going to shoot that rubber band across the room. We're just going to take out that one rubber band. And we're going to grab our component with the blue gears. Now let's take a look at how these pieces are coming together, because now we need three things and we're going to combine them into one mechanism. So we need our red beam with the blue standoffs, we need our two blue gear situation, and we need our rubber band. Now we need to pay very close attention to how this is going together. Okay, look at that. Do you see how this rubber band is only around that blue standoff? That's very, very important. If we put it around the shaft, our car won't work the way it's supposed to. So we want to make sure that when we connect these pieces, that we are holding them just like this. So we should have our blue standoffs in the top left corner, and then we're going to slide our rubber band over that blue standoff. I'm going to hold it with one hand just like that. You can do that. Great. If not, you might need two fingers. But we want to make sure that it doesn't go over that shaft. Then I'm going to slide the shaft in the middle hole of my red square beam. Then I'm going to push it forward. And you should be able to have your rubber band right there. And then your blue standoff should line up with the two holes in your blue beam. So when you squeeze it, they click together. We hear that sound. We know that things are connected. And here my rubber band can move around. It's only connected to that blue standoff. Awesome. We just made our rubber band part. That's going to be the power of our car. Woohoo! Okay, now let's start putting more pieces of our car together. So now we're going to grab that big black beam situation that we built a little earlier. And let's take a look at how we're going to combine this with our blue gears. So now we're going to put our gear mechanism into the body of the car. So let's look at where that goes together. It looks like the shaft of my blue gears is going to go directly above my pink pin that is right here. So we want to line this up so that the shaft of our blue gear mechanism is directly above the pink pin. Now, there's nothing to hold that in place right now. So we're just holding that in place with our hands because it will fall out if we let it go. So we want to make sure that we're being careful to keep it together. I'm going to make sure that I hold it this way so that it doesn't fall out. Now we're going to attach that wheel situation that we built with all those spacers. So we're going to put it on the spacer side facing the blue gears. Now, you'll notice that these can move. So we're going to lift those up a little bit to be able to see where this wheel is going to go. So if we count, we're looking in this middle row right here, right? I lifted up my blue gear so that I can see the middle row of holes. It's going to go in the 1, 2, 3, in the third middle hole from the right. So 1, 2, 3. Then I want to stick, keep sliding that out of the way. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to slide that right in there. There we go. Now it's very carefully balanced, right? Because there's nothing holding it on the other side. It's just carefully balanced like that. Let's see. So now we have it together. So now if I hold all these, I squeeze them, and I look, it should look exactly the same as it does in my diagram. And look at the magic that just happened here with these gears. My blue gear and that red gear should be touching each other, and they are meshing. That's awesome. That means our car is probably going to drive correctly. All right. Now, our next step, we've got to build another side to our car, right? To hold all these works in. So what we're going to do is very carefully, we're going to just lay that on its side. I'm going to put it off to the side here, carefully balanced up against my kit so that nothing moves. Now we have to build the other side. So we're going to do some things that look pretty familiar. We need a red beam. We need a red shaft. We need 2 red pins. So here we go. Let's press play and see how they go together. That looks just like what we did before. My red shaft goes in the middle and my blue pins go diagonally around it. 1 in the bottom left, 1 in the top right. just like that. Now I need another large black beam, right? This sounds very familiar. Let's see where these are connecting. So now the same way our other ones did, we want to make sure that there's one hole available on the side and that our red pins are going diagonally left to right. So we are going to slide that in there, and then we want to make sure that there's two holes open on the side. We've got our one and then the other one, right? Because we've got two holes open on the side, one empty hole, and then the hole with the pin. Great. Next part, we need that yellow angle beam. Remember, that's at the top of your plastic piece. We're going to grab that and two more pins. 1 and 2. Now I'm going to stick those into the bottom, when I'm holding it, again, the same way that it is in the picture, into the bottom two holes of my yellow angle beam. And I'm sticking them around the back, so that way, when I go to attach it, they're in the right place. Now that is going to slide right alongside our red square beam. And now if I spin it this way, it looks just the same way it does in my hand. Yep, I can check it. That looks exactly correct. Okay, here comes an exciting part. We're almost ready to connect these two halves. So let's slide our other half over here a little gently. We are going to need another spacer. And that spacer is going to go right on top of this shaft here against the red square beam. So let's slide that on. All right, are we ready? Oh boy, look at all those connection points. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is make sure that this black piece, our second black piece, is facing the right direction, right? Right now, it doesn't match. But if I flip it around, now both of my yellow angle beams should be on the same side of the car. Now, there's a lot of connection points. This can look a little tricky. I'm going to show you a trick. If we line up our orange connector pieces in the two very end holes of these black beams, then we should be able to get everything else to line up between them. So we want to make sure that our orange connector pieces are going in those end holes. Then we can look at where everything else should connect. So we probably want to take a look at our shafts because they're real easy to see here. So we should have orange connectors in the end two holes. Then we should have 1, 2, 3 in the third middle hole from the right. So I want 1, 2, 3 is going to be my shaft right there. And I'm lining this up now before I connect anything just to make it a little bit easier for me. Then I can see that my next shaft is coming in right here. So it's right in the middle. Let's count over from the left side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 holes from the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. I know that that piece needs to go in there. And then my last shaft right here should be in the second middle hole from the left, just like that, which means that my other pieces are connected. So now this may take you a couple of tries. Things may pop out a little bit along the way. That's okay. We want to be patient and try to get all of our connections in the correct place. So I'm pressing down on things, which is making stuff pop out a little bit differently. Let me get that back in. Okay, squeeze it together. There we go. Once everything is lined up, it should just squeeze together like that. And then you will be able to see that your car is put together the same way it is in the picture. So when we want to double check this, we want to make sure that our black beams are even with one another on the top and on the ends, right? They shouldn't have one sticking out further than the other. It should make a rectangle right there, okay? So you can go back and check some of your different positions. Now, I noticed that when I did this, my orange rubber band got caught around one of these orange standoffs. Ah, bummer. That's okay. I can just pull this apart on the end here, and I can take that apart. Now, it's a little bit tricky to pull apart, but I have a tool that will help me with that. So in your kit, you will find this pin tool. The end part of this is designed to help us pull and use pins. Then we have two little tools on the bottom. This one is a pin pusher. This one is a little tiny pry bar. So I need to pry the back end apart here very gently. So I'm going to stick my pry bar between those two pieces right there. Going to get it in there and twist it a little bit and see how it separated it just a smidge? Just enough. So that way I can pull that apart. I can make sure that my rubber band is not connected to anything it shouldn't be. And now I can put all of these pieces back together, just the way that they were before. There we go. We're going to squeeze it into place. Going to get my middle shafts in place. There. Oh, that side fell out too. Come on, friend. There we go. All right. And now we are back together and my piece is just like that. There we go. My rubber band is ready to go. Here we go. Moving forward. Okay, so now we're going to start adding some more wheels to this car. We need a blue wheel and we need a shaft collar. So that's in that same jewel case as our spacers and our red gears, but they're the little black ones. Remember I told you we were going to use those again? This is what they're for. So now if I hold this car the same way it is in the picture, I can see when this step is animated that I need to slide the blue wheel with the flat side going against the car, just like that. And then I'm going to slide my shaft collar on and into that little recessed part so that it holds that wheel on. So now we can see I've got my one wheel ready to go. Now we're going to add an orange knob. Now your orange knobs are in the top corner of your plastic bin, so grab one of those. And we are going to slide that orange knob. So let's watch and see. And we can see that our orange knob is going to slide onto that shaft just like that. It's got a square hole in the middle, so you might need to turn it a little bit to get it lined up. But there we go. So now we have our orange knob ready. Now, let's turn our car around just like it was in the build instructions. And we're going to do that wheel thing again. So we're going to grab a second blue wheel out of your kit and another shaft collar. And I bet you can guess what we're going to do. Yep, same thing we did on the other side, we're going to do on this side. So we want to go in the middle hole of our wheel with the flat side against the black beam. And then we're going to slide our shaft collar right on there. So we want to make sure that that's in the middle. And now if you want an extra check of this, you can make sure that your blue wheels are even, right? If one is higher than the other, our car is going to be off kilter and it's not going to be able to drive very well. So we want to make sure that our blue wheels are even with one another on the bottom of our car. Okay, let's see what's next. I think we're getting real close. Oh, yep. Now we need a green pin. Now these green pins are very special because they have a single pin side and they have a double pin side. So we always want to make sure that we're putting them in the correct way. So it looks like here, that single pin little side is going to stick in the back of our car. So let's take a look. Yep. Okay. So now we want the single pin to go directly in the middle hole in the back of our car. So we're going to stick that little end in just like that. Now, if you didn't get that all the way in correctly, you can use your pin tool. So we slide that over the end of the pin, squeeze, and pull it out. And there you go. Your pin tool makes it really, really easy to pull pins out or take things apart just like that. So now you can turn it around. Make sure you have your bigger side facing outwards and your little pin in there. Oh boy, this is looking very similar to that first step. All right, last step here. We're going to take our rubber band and we're going to stretch it down and put it around that double side of our pin, just like that. So it should go over that orange standoff, around the back of the car, and that's it. So it's only connected to this blue standoff in here. It stretches over the orange standoff and comes down and hooks around our green pin, just like that. And that is our completed car. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to see how this drives. Now, before we set this loose, let's make sure we have a clear space to run it. So I'm going to put my pin tool away. I'm going to put my little jewel cases away. Now, you'll notice in your kit, underneath the places where things go, you'll see pictures of what goes into those spots. So this way, every time you use your Go Kit, you can put stuff away. So this way, it's always really easy to find it when you're ready to build. So now I'm going to close up my kit. You can close up your kit with me. And I'm going to move my kits off to the side so that you can see we just built our very first VexGo build. How awesome. All right, now I'm sure you're wondering, but how do I drive it? How do I drive it, Audra? All right, so we see this little knob right here, right? We've got our knob, and you can feel when you turn the knob, you can feel different things happen, and you can see different things happen in the car. So before we get started on our experiment, let's figure out how to drive this car. All right, so I'm gonna zoom in here so that you can see really well what needs to happen. So our knob can turn in two ways. If it turns forward, it snaps back really fast. It's not quite doing what we need it to do there, right? So we want to turn our blue knob all the time towards the blue wheels, backwards or counterclockwise. So if we turn it one time, you can see, or two times, we can see that it starts to wind that rubber band around those blue standoffs. Then when I let go, whoa, oh my goodness. Now I was holding it up off the table so it didn't drive, but let's take a look at what happens when we pull it back. Are you ready to make your car drive? Now you want to make sure you're doing this on a floor with lots of space in front of you so that your car doesn't fly off of a table, right? That would not be so safe for our build, and we probably have to fix some things. So what we're going to do, depending on whether your knob is facing up or facing horizontally, mine is pointing up, is just turn it to match that same exact orientation. So it's facing up. I'm going to turn it till it's facing up again. And then when I let go, there goes my car. It drove right off camera. All right, let's take a look at that again. So now I'm going to turn my knob one time and let's see how far our car can really travel. And give it some more space here. Are you ready? Set, go. There it goes. Oh my goodness. Congratulations on completing your very first VexGo build. I had a great time building with you. I hope you are as excited as I am about driving this supercar, and I can't wait to test it out in a little experiment. Okay, so now that we know how to make our supercar move, I'm very curious to see how far we can get our supercar to move, aren't you? So I've designed a little bit of a test or an experiment that we are going to do together to be able to see how far our supercar travels depending on how far we turn that knob, right? So every time we turn the knob, we wind up this rubber band, and then when the rubber band lets go, our car drives. So now let's see how far it drives each time we turn that knob. So in order to set up this experiment, we need to set up a little bit of a testing space. So you're going to make sure you have your measuring tool. I have a meter stick here. You can use a yardstick or a measuring tape or even just a ruler. And we're going to take a piece of tape or string, if you have it, to mark the starting line for our trials. So every time we set our car up and we wind it to see how far it goes, we want to make sure that we're starting it from the same spot. So this way we're getting an accurate measurement, right? Not that it goes further because we started it here instead of here, right? We don't want to forget where we started it. So it's always a good idea to mark that. So I'm going to use a piece of tape and I'm going to mark that on my table. You're going to want to do this on a floor because here's a secret. Your car is going to drive really far. So you want to make sure that you're doing it on the floor so that your supercar doesn't fall off of a table, right? That would be bad, and you probably have to put it back together. So here I have my starting line marked. I'm going to line up my meter stick with that starting line. So this way the edge of my meter stick, that 0 line right there, right at the very start, is in line with the start of my starting line. So this way it'll make it a little bit easier every time I'm setting up this experiment, every time I'm resetting my supercar, to be able to see exactly how far it went. Then I want to make sure that that the front of my car is exactly lined up with the edge of my tape. So let me zoom in a little bit to show you that a little more clearly. So here you can see I have my starting line, and the front edge of my orange connector here at the front of my supercar is right along the front edge of my tape. And the edge of my tape is also at the edge or the 0 mark of my meter stick or my ruler. So this is how we're going to set up our trials every time. So this way, when we wind up our supercar, we know that our supercar is going to start in the same spot and it's going to travel forwards. Okay, so now that we have our space set up, we want to be able to keep track of the distances that our car travels, right? So this way we can compare each of our trials and we can know for sure which one made it travel the furthest. So here I have my data collection sheet that I printed. And if you have one of these, great. If you do not, you can just use a regular piece of paper and you can make a chart just like we've made here. So we're going to go ahead and fill this out together. So this way we are ready to measure our trials and record our data. So lab name, I'm just going to call this my supercar. And for my group name, it's just me. So I'm going to put Audra. You can put your name there or not at all. This first column is where we're going to write the trial number. So I'm just going to put a T there to stand for trial. And I'm going to number them 1 through 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In the next column, this is where we're going to write down the number of knob turns. So I'm going to make this the number of turns. Then in the next column, we are going to make some predictions like real scientists as to how far we think our supercar is going to travel in each one of these trials. So this is going to be your prediction. So I'm going to write prediction in there. And then in our last column, we are going to write the actual distance that our supercar traveled. So here is where we put the distance. Now you can measure in whatever units you want. Here I'm going to use inches on my ruler. You can use inches, millimeters, whatever your measuring tool has. So let's set up for our first trial. For trial number 1, we are going to turn the knob 1 turn. Now, how far do you think that supercar is going to travel with 1 turn? My prediction, I don't know. I'm going to say that, let me see, I think it's going to travel maybe 12 inches. I don't know if it's going to go very far. We'll see. You can make your prediction, and now we'll leave the distance space open until we run our trial. So now let's take a look at how we're going to run this trial, and we can run it together, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to hold our car. I'm going to hold it with 2 hands. So I'm going to hold the blue wheels with 1 hand, and then I'm going to hold the knob with the other. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see how I turn this really, really well. So now I'm going to hold the blue wheels with 1 hand. Then I'm going to turn this knob. Right now my knob is facing up and down. So I'm just going to turn it 1 turn until it is up and down again. That's what 1 turn looks like. So let's let go. Okay, that was just our practice. So let's do this one more time together. So we're going to turn it 1 turn so that it's facing up and down again. Then I'm going to go place this at my starting line. So now I'm holding that knob and I'm holding the wheels nice and tight. So this way my car doesn't run before I'm ready for it to. And then when we let go, we're going to see how far our car travels. Are you ready? We're going to let go together. 3, 2, 1, let go. Okay, so my car drove a little bit crooked. I'm going to straighten it out. Now, before we touch that car and move it, we're going to mark where it stopped. So I'm going to mark right here, right at the front of my car. I'm going to mark that with tape. Now, why am I doing that with tape? Well, measuring around something like this car with the wheel sticking out gets a little tricky. But if I put a piece of tape, then I can move my car out of the way and I can measure from tape line to tape line, and that makes it a bit easier. So now I can make sure that my meter stick is lined up, and when I slide it from tape to tape, I can see that my car traveled just about 29 inches. So I'm going to round there a little bit because I put my tape a little bit crooked. So now in my distance column, I'm going to write 29 inches. Well, that went way further than I predicted. I wonder how your prediction measured up. Did you think it would go further? So now before we get ready to do our second trial, I bet you're probably wondering a little bit about how this rubber band can make a car travel even that far. So let's talk a little bit about how our car is getting the energy to move. So we know that there's a rubber band here, right? And we know that when we turn the knob, we can see the rubber band wrap around those standoffs that we built. Well, let's look at what happens when our rubber band turns, right? So let's zoom in so you can see this really, really well. Okay. So if we look at what happens to our gears when the rubber band turns, see how the gears are turning that way? And then when the car goes forward, the gears, the blue gears turn into each other, and they also turn on that red gear down there. And that red gear is what is connected to the front of the car. So in order for our car to move forward, all three of our gears need to mesh. So how does our car get the energy to move forward? There's two different kinds of energy that are important to think about. There's potential energy, which is the energy that is potentially held in an object before it moves. And then there is kinetic energy that is the actual energy of movement. So I have a loose rubber band here just to show you this a little more clearly. So when we have potential energy, that's when I'm transferring energy into my rubber band by exerting some kind of force on it, right? If I pull it, it now has potential energy, but it doesn't have any kinetic energy because it's not moving anywhere. So if I were to let it go, say, and pull it and shoot that rubber band, then that potential energy is converted to kinetic energy and it moves, right? So if I pull it just a little bit and give it just a little bit of potential energy and then I let it go, it doesn't really fall very far, right? It doesn't fly very far because there's not very much kinetic energy. But if I pull it really far, now there's a lot of potential energy. And what do you think is going to happen to this rubber band if I let it go? Do you think it's just going to fall on the table? Probably not, right? Now I'm going to do this on camera because you should not be pulling your rubber bands and stretching them out at people, right? That's nothing we would ever do in our spaces aimed at a person or an animal, right? We don't want to catch our cat. So I'm going to do this for all of us here. Are you ready? I'm going to see if I add a lot of potential energy to my rubber band. Let's see where it goes. Oh my goodness, it went all the way over to the fish. Amazing. So that's what happens when we add potential energy. We get more kinetic energy. Now, there's a limit to how much potential energy we can add, right? We can keep pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, but if we pull super hard, what will happen? Our rubber band will snap, right? There's a breaking point there where when it converts to kinetic energy, it's just too much. So we can see that also in our rubber band powered supercar. So now that we know how that energy is working, let's make a prediction about how far we think our supercar will travel after 2 knob turns. So let's return to our sheet here. We saw one, I thought it would go 12 inches. It really went 29. So now for the second trial, we're going to turn it 2 turns. And how far do you think it's going to go? I think it's probably going to go further than that 29. So I'm going to say 40 inches. We'll add a little bit and see how far that goes. So you can make your prediction. And now let's set up this trial together. In just a few minutes, you're going to go off and test all of the rest of the trials on your sheet. So I removed my tape from my first one just to make it easier for you to see. You can leave it or remove it. It's up to you. So let's make sure that we set up our trial together so that way we're ready to test it out when you pause the video. So I've got my starting line. I have my meter stick here. I have my car at the starting line. We're going to turn it once and then twice, 2 times. Hold on to it and then we'll let it go. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, and we'll let it go. Now in your space, you want to make sure that you have a nice wide open space in front of your supercar. See, I didn't have enough, so it bounced off of my fish tank, and that's not going to give me an accurate result. So now what you're going to do is pause the video, and you are going to go and start, mark, and measure your trials for 2, 3, 4, and 5 knob turns. Okay, so you want to make sure that each time you're filling in your prediction before you set it off, then set your car off to run, measure it, record that data, and when you finished all 5 trials, come on back and we'll talk about what we found. Okay, so how did your supercar travel? I know that when I was doing my trials, I found something very surprising. With what we know about potential and kinetic energy, I thought that for sure by the time I cranked my car up to 5 cranks, 5 knob turns, this car was just gonna fly down the hallway. But that's not exactly what happened. I found that it traveled longer distances over the first, the second, and the third trials, but the fourth and fifth trials definitely did not go as far as I thought. How about you? Is that what you found in your results? Well, let's talk about why that could be the case. So I'm going to zoom in here real close on my car, and I want you to follow along with me. So this way you can either watch my rubber band or you can watch your own. So we know that for our car to move, the gears have to be able to turn and they have to be able to mesh with that little red gear down there, right? And that happens pretty easily with 1 turn, right? That happened pretty easily with 2 and 3 turns. But once I start getting up to 4 turns or 5 turns, when it starts getting really hard for my hand to turn that knob, what do we notice about the rubber band? The rubber band gets so tight. And if I kept turning it, the rubber band might even break or parts of my car could come apart, which has happened to me before. So I'm telling you here now. Now, if that did happen and you needed to replace your rubber band, that's okay. You can, right? We'll just take one side of your car off and replace it with the other rubber band in your kit, or maybe even one from your house. But if I keep turning, you can see that the tension that it's putting on this is so strong, it's actually causing the gears to lift up. Now I'm moving that with my finger to make it really obvious, but it's causing the gears to lift up so they can't quite mesh with that red gear. So when the potential energy is converted to kinetic energy, it's so much that it overwhelms that gear mechanism. And you might get this weird flopping sound or situation that happens because they can't mesh together well. There we go. So now we don't want any damage to happen to our car. So generally we say that about 5 turns is about as far as you want to go. So now let's think about how far was our furthest trial and what was our shortest trial. So on your sheet, you want to make sure that you know which was the furthest and which was the shortest. And now let's think about how we can use the new information we have about how the rubber band connects to the gears to figure out why that might be. It might be surprising to you, but that's okay. That's the great thing about STEM Camp is that we are full of STEM surprises. All right, so I've had a great time with this little test and experiment, and I bet you have too. Now, there are many questions that this experiment put into my brain, right? Now that I know a little bit about how my car travels on this smooth, flat surface, it makes me wonder things like how far might it travel on a different kind of surface? What if I tried to drive my supercar on carpet or on concrete or on something kind of fuzzy or sticky, right? What if we tested those things out? So now you have the chance to go try out your supercar on all different kinds of surfaces. I also wonder if my supercar can drive up a hill or down a hill, right? You could build a little incline and see how far your supercar can travel up the incline at different kinds of knob turns. So now it's your turn to become the scientist here and extend this experiment to figure out all sorts of different things about your supercar. What makes it drive the furthest? Does it need to drive down a hill first and onto something really flat? Or will it drive really far on your driveway? Who knows? If you're also looking for something else fun to add to your car, sometimes I like to spruce my car up a little bit and add some little extras to my car to make it into my superhero car. So you can use other pieces in your VexGo kit. You could also just use craft materials or construction paper you have to add all kinds of different things to your car. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So here I made a little flag. I cut it out of construction paper and I drew on it. And then I used a little VexGo pin here to attach my flag to a beam. So if you line up your flag or your construction paper with a beam, you can just stick that pin into the hole and it will connect your paper. I need to have it lined up. It will connect your paper to your beam. Then I put another little pin down below, so this way I can attach my flag to the side of my car. Now you want to make sure that you're attaching your flag in a spot that's not going to interfere with any of the workings of the car. So I'm going to put my flag right there. So now when my car is driving, I've got little flags flying in the wind. So there's all sorts of fun things that you can do with your supercar to see how far it can go and decorate it. Turn it into the race car of your dreams. Once you're done with your supercar and before session 2, you want to make sure that you take apart your supercar and put your pieces back into your VexGo kit. So this way you are ready to build again in the next session. Now remember, you can use that pin tool to pull pins out. You can use the pry part of it to pry the beams apart. So this way it makes it a bit easier for you to take apart your supercar. Well, I have had a great time with our supercars today, and I hope you have too. And I look forward to seeing you in another STEM camp session soon.